Welcome to another episode of Routes Through Pokemon Adventures. I'm Shaylock.
And I'm Ruby.
And together we are a father and daughter duo traveling through the Johto region currently as we continue our adventure through the Pokemon main series of video games, the anime, and the Pokemon Adventures manga. And this week we will be covering 2 chapters of the manga and 4 episodes of the anime. However, it's going to be a little interesting today because 2 of those episodes are the last 2 episodes of Johto Journeys, and then we will cover 2 episodes that cover the beginning of the next season, the Johto League Champions. But before we dive into all of that, let's catch up on where we are at in life and other Pokemon-related games and things. I recently caught a shiny Sentret.
Oh, fun.
That was exciting. I got that and a shiny Minoon, which I already had, one, but it was a better statted one, because during the electric stuff I was looking all over for shiny Magnemite. That's what I really wanted. I didn't need Plusles because I already had 2 of them, and I didn't need Minoon because I already had 1 of them, although I'm happy to have a second. I wanted Magnemite. Did I get Magnemite? No. Did my wife get Magnemite? Darn straight. She got that, and then the very next day she caught another shiny too. What was that?
I don't know, something useless.
It wasn't useless.
Oh, it was Tandemouse. Tabamouse.
No.
Something like that.
No,
like
not Tandemouse. It was, Deden.
Oh, yes. I knew it was a mouse one.
Yeah, it was a Pikachu type thing, and it was brown, which was a good color for it. I really liked it. Now I kind of want one because it looked great. Like, it wasn't one of the top ones on my list, but it was a good shiny.
So I know that you're annoyed at me and Mom for her getting the Magnemite and me having the Wooloo, but you should honestly be happy that it wasn't shiny Eevee. Because if you had not have caught your shiny Eevee yet, and then we caught a shiny Eevee, you would have been even more annoyed.
Oh, that would have been annoying.
So you should be happy.
Yeah, honestly, I'd forgive everything if I just keep catching a lot more shiny Eevees, but that hasn't been happening either, so. But
you have plenty.
But my Sentret was really cute. It had the same kind of pale look, like a shiny Eevee does, kind of, because they're both brown, but it had the kind of same pale coloring. But I've already evolved it into a Furret, and that's actually pretty darn cute, too. I just recently moved on to, Stage 3 of the Master Ball quest that we have going on now. And I only have a few more days. We got 12 days left, and I need to go 11 kilometers still for a timed research I have. So as long as I do at least a kilometer a day, I'll be fine. Still no Pokemon Horizons. We're actually a little behind on our anime watching in general, so we really need to get caught up on some of that. I've recently been looking into ways to get access to some of the games I do not have, because currently Black and White and Black and White 2 and Heart Gold and Soul Silver are kind of out of reach, but I think I may have found a solution to those. It's not been confirmed yet, but that's where we're at there. The other one that's a little sketchy is our next season, which will be the Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, Leaf Green season, because I can't find, legitimate copies of those, the legitimate cartridges of those. I can only find, the modded ones or the ROMs or whatever they are in cartridges. Supposedly, the group I have can trade with each other, and as long as the saves work and don't reset on us or whatever, we don't hit any weird glitches, then we'll be able to at least play through those, but only trading with those 5 games. We won't be able to connect them to anything else. So that might be tricky, but we'll see how that works out. So if we end up taking a break next season, you'll know it's because our games stopped working the way we needed them to.
If they glitch on us halfway through or something and we have to start all over, I don't even know if I'm going to catch all the Pokemon. I'm going to be like, we just need to catch up.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. And we can always, because then we can, if we feel like going back and looking for Pokemon after we beat it or something, we can, but it's not.
You know I probably won't after what happens.
Yeah, I know. So, there's that. Now, and also, I had things really well scheduled out, I think, for this season of Pokemon, but I'm beginning to think that I might need to make some adjustments based off some new information I have, because, I don't know a lot about the anime and the manga and the game. I know certain big details, which helped me to schedule it. But now there's also some other stuff going on and some potential new things we might be trying here. So, there might be a shift in all that. Otherwise, we got birthday things happening. Everybody's getting older. Ruby will actually be a teenager soon. She already acts like it, so now her age will match her attitude.
I quit.
See? Attitude.
You're being a jerk.
Oh, and Halloween's right around the corner. Which, well, for us it is. For you all, It's past. What?
You're Steve.
Oh, is it Steve?
Yes.
Our rooster Steve is making a lot of racket, even though it's much later in the day than it should be for crowing purposes. What is his deal? Good old Steve Harrington.
He's so funny. I tried to put him in a bumblebee costume. He didn't like it.
So I think that's about it. Do you have anything else you want to share, Ruby?
We haven't played any more Scarlet and Violet.
No. I have a feeling that's going to be on hiatus for a bit until we get to like a break between seasons again.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe during the holidays. We might get to play some then. Alright. Well, then we'll get into the episodes. Before we do that, Ruby's going to go chase off a rooster. So we'll see you soon. Alright. So, since the last 2 episodes we'll be covering of the anime and the 2 chapters of the manga we'll be covering all deal with Goldenrod City and Whitney, we will be saving the manga for after the anime this week. So we will be starting with our final 2 episodes of Johto Journeys.
Woohoo.
So our first one is episode 158, or season 3, episode 40, The Psychic Sidekicks, or Kiriniki Esupa Pokemon no Mura, or Kiriniki, the Village of Esper Pokemon.
And there's only 2 exclamation points this time.
Whoa.
So I'm gonna guess it's like
I don't know exactly.
Sidekicks. The Village of Psychic Pokemon.
No. Kiriniki is Girafarig.
Oh. So Girafarig, the Village of Psychic
And
Pokemon.
Girafarig is an interesting named Pokemon because I forget what the proper name is for those words that can be read the same way backwards and forwards, but Girafarig can be read the same way backwards and forwards. However, I believe that's somewhat true of Kiriniki as well. I don't know exactly how it works, because yes, I know that in the English letters it's spelled like this and everything. There's a similar thing happening with Kiriniki, and I think Kirin is connected to giraffe. It means giraffe or something like that, because I've run into that word before.
Well, aren't you the best Japanese expert around?
I am not. This is more based off of knowledge of other geeky related things. And I thought it was interesting that they said Esper Pokemon. Because I'm not sure what Esper actually means, but there's a video. I've talked about this video game before, but Final Fantasy.
You never said Final Fantasy.
That's totally a lie. Was a series of games that I grew up playing all the time, and my favorite of the series, Final Fantasy VI, involves a bunch of Espers.
You said that's why you would do a fast forward in Amazing Race. They had to get tattoos on their arms.
Because it had FF on it.
You're like that. Because it's fast forward, but you're like, Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy. That's what I would say. That's what I tell everybody.
And then you'd just be cool.
Or I could just say, they're the initials of one of my best friends, Frank Future.
Yes, you told me that one. I'm like, I don't remember what the other thing was.
Who's been on our show before. And hopefully will be again someday soon.
Someday.
So the gang is in the woods again. I left it open for you because I knew you were going to want to say it. But this time they come across a sign sitting there, like in the game. Like how there's always signs in the game, and it is a trainer tip.
Ooh.
So I thought that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I felt this trainer tip was ridiculous because it is a lie if you're playing the game. It warns that there are ghost Pokemon about, so trainers should use psychic Pokemon for protection.
Yeah, I think the anime...
This is annoying even for the consistency of the anime.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of going to Lavender Town to get that Haunter was so he could battle the Psychic Gym where he lost earlier. Because Ghost is good against Psychic. I mean, it wasn't in the first game even though it was supposed to be, but it definitely works in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I've been using it on Drowsies and stuff all the time out in Route 34.
Right before Golden.
Yeah, on Route 34 there. Very annoying. Now, we're just going to get this out, because I do find that super annoying that they're all about psychic Pokemon being protective against ghost Pokemon, which is not how it's supposed to work at all. They even established that in the anime, so I don't know why this whole episode that's like this. I wanted to get this out of the way, because this is the theme throughout the whole thing, so it is something that annoys me, but the rest of the episode is okay. So, moving past that, we can go.
So this one's going to be at the bottom.
I don't know if it's at the bottom, but it's just that it is an annoying through line.
With, like,
I will give them this. The only ghost Pokemon we have ever met in any of the seasons and so far in the games are ghost poison. And psychic is good against poison. So psychic attacks will work against the ghost Pokemon. But they're not the best protection against ghost Pokemon because ghost attacks are also good against them. So, although the Pokemon that's featured in this one, Kirinriki or Girafarig, is a normal type or a psychic normal. So ghost attacks either are only semi-effective, like they're not extra effective, I don't think, or less effective, or like not effective even, because ghost attacks do not touch normal Pokemon. So I'm not sure how well it works against Girafarig because I don't know the actual typing of Girafarig because we've not found those in the game yet either. But if you're going to have a psychic Pokemon, that does seem like the best option. Oh, and the type of Pokemon that would be good for them here, because of the Ghost, I think would be Dark Pokemon. Because I think Dark is good against Ghost as well as Psychic, and they're not susceptible or extra susceptible to Ghost attacks.
Oh, nice.
So Dark Pokemon would be the real answer, but we've only seen one of those, and that's Houndour. That's not true. In the movie and the manga, we've also seen Murkrow, and I think he might be Dark as well. So the gang is getting nervous after this sign, even though it's still very sunshiny out. And then a flock of Fearow fly by, which ends up raising all their fears. Then Brock remembers they have Psyduck, who isn't a psychic Pokemon, but it does have psychic attacks, which makes it also a better option than just psychic Pokemon.
Not really. Psyduck sucks.
Well, if Psyduck would behave, it would be better. So then a creepy face appears from out of the bushes, and Misty wants Psyduck to use a psychic attack. They all think the face that popped up is a ghost, and so Psyduck and this ghost face off for a long time, and then Psyduck squirms out of Misty's arms and waddles over to his Pokeball and taps on it to vanish. Now, this was hilarious, as it was a change to what it usually does of popping out without permission. Now he's returning without permission. And so that makes me question our whole thing for Psyduck sighting. It's called Psyduck sighting because we see him, but the whole point is he pops out without permission. Now he's going in without permission. Does this count? I almost think it should, even though, I mean, we still see him.
I do think it could, because babysitting Brock when Brock babysat Misty.
Exactly.
So reversing it for this, yeah, I think it works.
Sweet. Good. So we will count that as a Psyduck sighting. Also, fair warning, I think there's like 3 more in here that I'm like, is it this? Should we count it? And some of them I'm really like, probably not, but I should ask. There's a lot of questionable tally marks on this one. Anyway, Brock realizes the face doesn't look like any Ghastly or Haunter he's ever seen. And then a girl shows up and explains that her Girafarig is not a ghost type. And finally, the rest of the giraffe-looking Pokemon emerges, because it was just its tail that was poking out that looked like the ghost. Well, that they thought was a ghost. The girl's name is Cherry, and they learn that there is a nearby town, and it is known for most of its trainers having psychic Pokemon, hence psychic sidekicks. Cherry explains it is because of all the ghost Pokemon that have been around for hundreds of years. Which means they should know better at this point. Team Rocket is hiding and listening in on the conversation, and Jessie thinks it is all very interesting. James agrees, and he says that if you turn the name Girafarig around, and Meowth finishes explaining that it's the same spelling either way. Which is not what Jessie was talking about when she thought something was very interesting. But of course that's what caught James and Meowth's attention. They're like, oh, that's cool. And they were able to figure that out without actually seeing it spelled out. They plan to catch a bunch of the psychic Pokemon, and Jessie has an idea that she hints at when she pulls out her compact mirror. Back with the gang, Cherry explains she wants to be a Pokemon master and be the first person from her town to win the Johto Championship. But she hasn't left home yet and hasn't even earned any badges yet.
It doesn't matter. As long as she doesn't go to, 500 towns in between each one, I think she can make it.
Well, she already lives in a town that doesn't exist, so odds are not in her favor. Misty mentions that Ash has a new rival, but, I mean, does he really? They said that about Casey, too. We haven't seen her again. And we've only seen Gary once this season. So, Whatever. We'll see if we ever see anybody ever again.
Well,
I expect Gary at least, but I'm not really expecting to see Cherry or Casey.
yeah, like, what's with the whole disappearing Gary act? Like, what the heck?
Yeah. Well, you technically wasn't in a lot of the episodes even the first season, but we had like little, like especially in the first group of episodes, he like left notes for Ash and stuff. like he carved something on one, like a sign or something one time. And he popped up on occasion, so I'm sure we'll see him again. Just not this season, apparently. We only once this season. Spoilers. He doesn't show up in the next episode. Or this one.
Hopefully he shows up more next season.
Since Cherry wants to be a psychic Pokemon master, she wants to battle with Ash. And so he agrees, and they both decide to use one Pokemon. And so, of course, it's her Girafarig versus Ash's Pikachu.
Shockers.
Right? That's what he does. So then, in the fight, Girafarig ends up using Future Sight. Now, I've never been sure what this does in the game. I know it's a move that exists, but I don't know enough about a lot of the moves in the game. If they don't do damage, I'm like a child playing Pokemon. I'll be like, oh, it doesn't do any damage? Forget it. I throw that one out. Except for mean look, apparently. Nah, I don't always do that. I do know some of them are useful. I mean, I used Sand Attacks and Leer and stuff like that in that first gym battle with Brock because I needed him to not hit me and be weak enough for me to do damage to him.
Also, don't you put Pokemon to sleep a lot with Ghastly?
Oh, that's true. Hypnotize.
That doesn't do damage.
You are correct. Sleeping is very useful. Makes me feel refreshed. So anyway, I'm not sure what the move does. But in here, it ends up creating a huge blast at the end, which I don't think really equates to what it's supposed to be representing. But I don't know. What it does is it gives a big, huge blast later on in the fight.
So as long as she can hold out, Future Sight will let her.
Yeah. So you would have to think it must be, like, do a decent amount of damage then if you have to wait a couple turns for it. But I don't know. I don't know if that's how it even works in the game. I really don't know.
I feel like it would work something like that.
But in the end, Pikachu still wins. He survives the Future Sight. And Cherry laments that she isn't in sync with her Pokemon enough, like a lot of the other people. She even mentions that like some of them are so in sync that they can even hear the mind of their Pokemon.
Yeah.
Which makes sense for a psychic Pokemon. We had Lapras, who isn't even a psychic Pokemon, talk to people.
To be fair, that was like Santa's help or something.
True. Lugia also talked to people.
Lugia is not normal. Lugia is special and cool.
And Slowking literally talked to people. I mean, Meowth does too all the time. I don't know what was up with Slowking.
Well, I mean, with Meowth's explanation, Slowking lives alone in a cave. You think he might be able to learn to talk like Meowth?
Does he live alone? In the special, there was kids talking all the time. So maybe there's ghostly children all around him, and that's where he learned to talk. Yeah, that's right. I made it creepy.
Just like Tilly and Gus.
Alright, so there are a ton of psychic Pokemon in town when they get there, and an Abra even teleports right onto Ash, and then eventually teleports away when the trainer comes chasing after it.
Poor lady.
And it ends up on somebody else instead, which is fun. But then eventually someone runs in saying there is big trouble. There is a gigantic ghost Pokemon that is invulnerable to psychic attacks. Like, that's supposed to be a surprise. I mean, they're not invulnerable in the game, but they're also, strong against it. Anyway, although these ghost Pokemon wouldn't be because it's Ghastly Land. So he explains he was with his Mr. Mime and it used a move on a giant Gengar. But the move bounces right back at him with its mirror eye. And then we hear mechanical noises accompany the lick attack it uses that scoops up Mr. Mime and brings it into its mouth. And then we find, of course, big shocking shocker of all.
What's a big shock?
That it is a bot. But interestingly enough, this bot only has the front. Like, the back is all exposed. And it's powered by cycling again. The Team Rocket really likes their, bicycle-powered devices.
Well, I'm guessing with the cycling and the no back, since they're always complaining about how they don't have any money.
It's all they could afford.
So we're probably going to get another busted bot.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I mean, arguably, it's already busted. It's missing half of it.
I mean, we don't know. Maybe someone did do that.
So another issue here is they got this big machine that has mirror eyes that bounces the psychic attacks back, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. We already learned that can happen with the Noctowl episode, right? Mirror bouncing. The thing is, it's the eyes that are the mirrors. So how do the psychic attacks only always hit the one eye and bounce right back? Because that's what we're going to see. It's going to keep hitting that same left eye and bounce back. That's not even hit the other one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Especially since psychic attacks aren't necessarily... Like, the concept of a psychic attack is that it hits your mind.
Maybe it goes through your eyes and into your mouth.
That could be. That actually is fair, because, like, the hypnosis and stuff, right? Like, you're looking at their eyes and hypnotizing them. So that's actually a really good argument, because it goes through the eyes. The eyes are the window to the soul. All right, I can accept that. I like that explanation.
The eyes are the window to the soul.
That's a saying, yes.
Your soul is green and white and black, and it flickers around and has a small pupil.
I have a lot of pupils.
Pupil?
You're one of them. Anyway, Team Rocket chants as they're bicycling this thing further along. We gotta catch 'em all. We gotta catch 'em all. Hence, we have another catching catchphrase. The mischievous Abra that we saw before also ends up hitting the eye of this Gengar when it shows up in town. And, of course, it doesn't work because it bounces back. So then, as they're coming even further, Girafarig's psychic attacks bounces back as well, and they all wonder how. And then Team Rocket decides to reveal themselves with a normal intro and motto. Nothing special this time.
Team Rocket showed up? What?
Yeah. Team Rocket explains the mirrors, because they gotta explain how clever they are. Team Rocket actually says that they've gotten pretty clever, which I thought was cool. Like, they are even, like, patting themselves on the back for their clever thinking. And Brock ends up agreeing. He's like, that's true. To the point where Misty comes in and yanks on Brock's ear for siding with them on that fact. Now, because she yanked on his ear, I had to question, is this a babysitting Brock? It is outside completely of the normal parameters of what we consider it, but she is trying to keep him in check. Because that's what he did. He kept her in check when it wasn't flirting either. So I don't know. Is it? Is it not? I'm really torn on that one.
Yeah, I think it is.
All right, we'll count it.
We've counted the first two things you had question marks on.
I'm pretty sure we won't count the third one.
What is it?
We'll get there. Jesse plans to use the psychic Pokemon to rule the world. And James is a little sad because he thought they were going to use them to entertain on cruise ships. He still wants to do a job of some kind. I mean, yeah, it's because he wants to perform and entertain people, but it's just so funny that he was not thinking about ruling the world.
I think if Jesse and Meowth weren't so, like, bad and mean, James would be a nice guy.
Probably.
Which makes me wonder, how did he even get entangled?
Well, he was running away from his family.
He got entangled with
and
Team Rocket.
School didn't work out really well for him.
Oh, yeah.
The academy. Well, along with Jesse. And then they were with that bad crowd. But remember, he was just a little kid at that time, too, on his tricycle with the bike gang.
Probably got entangled with Team Rocket because, of course, he wants to do showbiz, right? And he's acting with Ash on how so that he can get seen on TV.
Ah, it's all... I see.
He's just really part of the
And
showbiz.
then James didn't... Like, they were going to be out of show business in the movie if they didn't save him.
Yes, they had.
So it's all about the show. That's why he's doing it.
Yeah, he's just doing it for the show.
Yeah. I like your theory. So Girafarig keeps getting told to use psychic attacks that keep bouncing right back. So I don't know why they keep doing that. And one of them is about to hit Girafarig, but then Cherry and Ash jump in front of the bounced back attack that came from Girafarig, and they get hit by it instead. Which is definitely an attack by a friendly Pokemon that hit them. So you could argue that it's friendly fire, but it isn't really like a normal character's friendly Pokemon. It's the side character that's in this particular episode.
I would still count it if they attacked him.
And it wasn't like... Yeah, I don't know. It didn't feel right, but I thought I should at least ask the question.
Yeah, I think probably not.
Alright, that's kind of where I was leaning to, but like I said, I wanted to check. Alright, so not friendly fire. Again, if you guys have other opinions, feel free to voice them and let us know. So this time, when Girafarig uses Future Sight, Cherry gets a vision of what is to come. So apparently Future Sight actually does let us see what's coming, but it also is a big blast that comes later. So it's extra weird now. But she gets the vision, and which also means she has finally linked with her Pokemon, because she gets Giraffurig's vision. And because of it, Cherry's able to warn Ash what is to come, so Ash can have Pikachu dodge just in time as a Lick Attack comes. Then after Pikachu zaps Team Rocket and their machine, it blows up part of the machine and frees the other Pokemon, and Jessie's hair is hilariously mussed up. It's all like messed up and all standing like in a tower that's all spindly or whatever, which was fun. Now here's the thing. She doesn't comment on it. Now the other, like Meowth and James also look like they got like hit by something, but they don't look nearly as ridiculous as she does.
Does anyone say anything about it?
But nobody says anything about it. So I don't know if it counts as the vanity, because the ones that have happened so far are ones that she said something about.
I thought that's what vanity was, her complaining about her looks.
And I agree that's probably it, but I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, because I wish she commented, because it would be a perfect vanity.
Right.
But I think if she didn't comment, then we should probably not count.
I think a part of the reason I included it too is because it's specifically her hair, which is her biggest vanity point. And I don't know if she always comments on something happening to her hair, because she didn't comment with Totodile on her hair either, I don't think, at one point. Or did she?
I don't know if she commented every time, but she did at least once.
Okay. So, I have a feeling we would count the haircuts in the Scyther episode, even if she didn't say anything. Granted, they said plenty about it, which was hilarious. But, so that's part of my issue, is specifically her hair, which was originally the title of the category, was Jessie's hair, but then we turned it to vanity. So that's the other argument. Again, I'm okay with not, because nothing is said about it, and it wasn't just her that got hit, but I don't know.
I could see it going either way.
Well, you're the deciding voter.
I guess I might lean more on the side of not counting it.
Okay, we're not counting it.
Maybe. No.
We are not counting it. So then the Future Sight Blast comes in and sends Team Rocket blasting off again! Ding! Wabba! You didn't say a whole thing this time, just wabba.
I love Wabba Fett. Wah!
And then the gang gets back to their journey. And you know what we never saw in this episode?
Ghosts?
Despite the fact that the forest surrounding the town is supposedly full of them? Ghost-type Pokemon. You are correct. We have not seen any ghost.
No ghost, no ghost, no ghost. No
The
ghost,
only
no
ghost in this episode was a fake Gengar bot.
So they just brought up ghost things to irritate you, probably.
I guess. And our Who's That Pokemon is Ursaring, which was actually the Pokemon in last episode. And in that episode, they had Noctowl, who was in the previous episode. So is this our new trend, that we go with the Pokemon that was in the previous episode instead of the coming episode? Who knows?
They seem to always bring up they seem to usually bring up a Pokemon that is featured in some way.
So, our tally this week was Psyduck Sightings, 1, Catching Catchphrases, Busted Bot, and Babysitting Brock. Now to rank it. So I think that Psychic Sidekicks, yeah, it wasn't really that strong of an episode, and it had the annoying through line, which is whatever, but like I was able to get over it, but it just wasn't a whole lot that was interesting about it. I think I'm leaning towards the very bottom. I don't like, not the bottom, not under Roll On Pokemon, but like I don't know if it's better or worse than About with Sprout or Crying Out Loud. I think it's under Superhero Secret though, so somewhere between Roll On Pokemon and Superhero Secret.
Right below About with Sprout and right above Roll On Pokemon.
That's what you think?
Yep.
Alright, that's what we'll do. Season 3, Episode 41, the finale of Johto Journeys, is called The Fortune Hunters, or Pokemon Uranai Dairansen, or Pokemon Fortune Telling Enormous Melee.
Again, only 2 exclamation points. Although there is a question mark, so.
Yeah, exclamation point, question mark, and then an exclamation point. Alright, so, here we go. The gang arrive at a Pokemon Center, and a bunch of kids are excited about a Pokemon fortune-telling book. It turns out the book tells you what Pokemon you compare to based on your birthday. They are acquirable at the new Pokemon Daycare Center.
Ooh.
So now we have the gang getting closer to Goldenrod, and they come upon a daycare center, just like in the game.
Wow.
Because the very next episodes, they'll be in Goldenrod. Spoilers.
Impressive.
So that was super exciting to me. And when the gang arrives, just like in the game, it is run by an old couple instead of just one person. Also exciting. Apparently, if you have the type of the Pokemon that your birthday says you match up with, then you're very lucky. If your thing said that you're a Squirtle and you had a Squirtle, you'd be very lucky. A kid comes in and says the book says he's a Seadra type, but he doesn't have one and wants to find someone that would be willing to trade for his Golbat. So the daycare center offers to keep the Golbat for the kid and will see if they can find out if one of their other customers has a Seadra and is willing to trade.
And as soon as they say this, my older brother Flame is like, it's Team Rocket. I'm like, maybe. I guess I could see it, but I thought it would just be like the game.
Yeah, it was interesting because they don't trade for you in the game. And when they said that, there was just something that was slightly off, that it pinged something in the back of my head. I didn't automatically think Team Rocket like he did, but that was there was a little twitch that I'm like, wait a second. Maybe it's just my own suspicions in like real life that I would just be like, I don't trust anybody to hold on to this and do a trade for me. I gotta do it myself. I don't know if that was all it was, but I definitely had a ping and I'll be like, wait. This is a problem.
Yeah, I was debating with it for a while.
But I did not nail the whole Team Rocket thing right away, which theoretically I probably should have.
Nail the whole Team Rocket.
Like I didn't realize it was Team Rocket. Because it is.
Yeah. I was debating until it got there, and I was like, oh, it is Team Rocket. So I wasn't against it by any means. I was even a little with it, but I was also like, maybe it's just the game. So
then Misty looks through the book and finds Ash is a Bellsprout, which says he is very easily swayed. I don't know if that's true.
He's...
Like, it sounded true when they said it, but I don't... Like, the two things I can think of right off the bat don't sound accurate. What did he want to do when they got to Azalea Town? The gym. They had to work so hard to drag him off to not the gym because they had to deliver the GS ball, which also didn't work out. And the only reason it was, like, even valuable is the gym was closed because of the drought. And then, the other thing I can think of is when they go up in the mountains. When he has that ice cave, they all were like, no, let's not go in the mountains. He's like, no, we're going up the mountains. So I don't think he's that easily swayed. Those are the two things I can think of right off the bat.
I think he can be easily swayed for some things.
If you know how to manipulate his desires, he's easily swayed, I think. Just like Charizard, where it's like, oh, are you too weak, Charizard? Oh, I'll show you. So if you're like, hey, if you go do this, this will prove that you're a master, or this will make you better than Gary. If you know how to hit those buttons, then sure, you can mislead him and direct him. But I don't think he's just easily swayed and goes with the flow, like goes with what other people are saying kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least from what I can think of.
Interesting.
Because he's one-track Ash. It's all about the Pokemon. And then Brock is an Onyx type, which is perfect since, you know, he works with the Onyx and the Rock Pokemon. Mm-hmm. So he's supposed to be super lucky since he already has an Onyx. And Misty imagines she might be something like a Vulpix type or a Water type like Vaporeon. And she is a Water type. She's a Gyarados. Which tells them she has a short temper, is stubborn, grouchy, irritable, which is all true. And she proves it throughout the episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing like Misty at all. Then while she's freaking out about being a Gyarados, they're walking, and they fall into a Team Rocket pit. Team Rocket shows up in suits, like spacesuits kind of thing, and start their interesting intro from inside them.
Prepare for trouble, we've got you this time.
Now make it double. That's easy to rhyme.
As soon as they showed up, I was a little more like, is it really Team Rocket at the daycare center?
Oh, sure. Yep.
I was like, maybe not.
Because they're over here. I also liked that he said it's easy to rhyme, because that also, like in his intro, because that suggests that he is the one required to try to figure out a rhyme. As we've talked about with Jessie. She just says things and he has to try to rhyme it. So the spacesuits are to dress the part of Team Rocket. They thought they'd be like, we are Team Rocket, so might as well dress the part, right?
I guess.
So then Team Rocket sends out mini Meowth hot air balloons with little hand grabbers to catch the Pokemon, but Misty sends her Staryu out and it destroys both balloons at once. Meowth notices Misty's book under his foot, and then Misty suddenly appears out of the hole with the other two climbing up after her, And she is very angry.
Just proving her Gyarados.
Yep. Then Staryu shoots at Team Rocket, and it looks like Team Rocket is blasting off already!
Ding.
And no ding, as they crash land near a fountain.
I knew they would show up again since there was no ding.
Yeah, but we actually got to see them crash down this time, too,
That's
where
fair.
they went. But it is another we're off again moment. So then Team Rocket looks through the book that Meowth took with him, that was Misty's, and Jessie is sure she might be something like a Ninetales, which I had to note is an evolved version of Vulpix, which is what Misty thought she might be, and Jessie is an older version of Misty. And now that I say that out loud, I have more time travel theories. But moving on. Like with Ashen being Giovanni, maybe Jessie is Misty.
We don't have time for that.
No, we don't. We don't have time for that crap. Moving on. No time travel here. Wait, we do have time. If time travel's involved, we have plenty of time. You're just not thinking fourth dimensionally. So anyway, Misty and Jessie do seem, as we noticed in that other episode where they traded places too, they have a lot in common, Misty and Jessie do. So I just thought that's interesting that they both picked the Vulpix line. But it turns out that Jessie is an Eevee, and she agrees she's just as cuddly.
She's probably one of those feisty ones that bites you.
Right? James says she's more like an Evil instead of Eevee. Evil. Meowth wants to know what he matches up with, but he's already a Pokemon.
I mean, you could still match him up and see what happens.
So then they move on to James, but he doesn't believe in those silly things. It claims James is a Moltres. Then there is a fortune for his day, and it says he'll find some money, which he does, on the ground, and then he'll find something lost, which he does, in the form of a bottle cap inside his boot. I also just love that there's more bottle cap action going on with James. Him and his bottle caps. Then he's supposed to be aware of danger near water, and he's like, there is no water nearby, which they were just by a fountain, so of course there is. But he goes to a drinking fountain, anyway, which is more water, and it bursts up into his face.
And then he does believe.
So then he's, definitely believing. So now he's convinced and reads more about Moltres. They triumph and rise above all others, and so James goes crazy and climbs a pole and announces that he is the mighty Moltres!
I love this show this episode with James.
Oh,
perfect.
yeah. This started off, this just took the episode to new heights.
Oh, yes.
So he takes charge and
It soars above all others.
It soars above all others. So he takes charge and leads them back to the daycare center. He saw and plans to rob it now, so they had seen the daycare center themselves. Meowth suggests going in through the back, but sneaking and skulking is not how James the Moltres should conduct himself. So, and just the way that James talks throughout this, as he's talking about, we shall go, or things like that, just like he's very like, I am a leader, I am the Moltres. Is great. So James tries to get through, but the old lady grabs him, swings him around, and tosses him against a wall, while the old man does the same thing to Jessie. And then the old couple jump into their modified motto, revealing themselves as members of Team Rocket. Prepare for trouble and make it double.
To infect the world with devastation.
To blight all peoples in every nation.
To denounce the goodness of truth and love.
To extend our wrath to the stars above.
Cassidy.
And Butch.
Team Rocket circling Earth all day and night.
Surrender to us now, or you'll surely lose the fight. Eradicate! That's right. It's the return of Butch and Cassidy. And this is why I should have guessed it a little earlier, because the old man did sound like Butch. Not quite the same, because he had an old man voice. And fair enough that we could say, well, you reuse a lot of actors all the time, right? But with with Flame saying, it's Team Rocket, and me thinking, there's something suspicious here. Those two combined, I should have been like, right, it is Team Rocket, just not Jessie and James Team Rocket.
So Flame was right.
Flame was right. Sort of. I don't know if he thought it was them specifically.
He still knew that it was a Team Rocket plot.
True. Also, to add to that, this plot is actually basically the same plot they used in their first appearance with the breeding center secret.
Mm-hmm.
So that was also another clue.
Even like their thing that they're putting the Pokemon in cages looks the exact same.
Yeah, it does turn out that they're putting them in cages that we find later. So anyway, this is our third time running into Butch and Cassidy, because we did it in the Orange Islands as well. So technically speaking, we've had Butch and Cassidy once every season. Season 1's super long, and it has the breeding center secret in the middle of it.
Okay.
Then the Orange Islands, and this is Season 3, Johto Journeys.
When did they have them in Orange Islands?
When they when they use Drowsy to hypnotize everybody, or Drowsy. Hypno?
Oh, Drowsy.
Right. And Togepi uses Metronome for the first time.
Okay.
So yeah, so far once a season, which is kind of fun.
Which is as much as we get to see the guy from now on.
Gary?
Yeah.
James, Jesse, and Meowth are all tied up and locked in a room. But James snaps the ropes and bangs down the door as nothing will stop the mighty Moltres! James is so good at this.
I love James. He should have more self-confidence.
Right? Meanwhile, Misty is feeling down, and a kid shows up wondering if she has a Poliwhirl. And since she does, he wants to trade for his Gyarados because he is a Poliwhirl type and he knows she's a Gyarados. Which she's like, what? Why? But it turns out Brock is telling all about it to Nurse Joy. This is definitely a babysitting Brock moment when she goes over and yanks on his ear. So Misty wants to yell at the old couple because she is not happy about the fortune-telling book. So the gang goes looking around back and sees the old couple carrying things into a storage area.
Oh, and I think it was around the last point that we saw James. I was thinking, this isn't going to last. Something's going to happen in the heat of battle or something, I don't know. And it's all going to crumble.
Well, they always got to put everything back to the status quo, right? So that's always the same the next episode. I mean, if Jesse's hair grows back from a mohawk or whatever to the next episode, obviously, things just go back. So when the gang follow the old couple, they find Pokemon all caged up, just like in the other daycare breeding center we talked about. And sure enough, they see the two Team Rocket people take off their costumes and then talk to Giovanni, who shows up on a screen in shadow with his Persian, as usual. So we haven't seen that whole take in a long while, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out they copied some actual fortune-telling book to make theirs. But now it is time to pack up and reunite with Giovanni with all the stolen Pokemon they have. But Misty leads the way into confronting them. A Pokemon battle ensues and Cassidy sends out Raticate. Butch brings out Primeape. And I don't know if we've seen that before. We've always seen Raticate, but we never saw, like, if they had any other Pokemon.
I don't remember.
Except for what they steal. I don't think we ever... So that was cool.
Drowsy, I think, was theirs.
That's true. They did have that Drowsy that they were using, but it never seemed to suggest that it was, like, their Pokemon. Like an Arbok or the Raticate or whatever. You know what I mean?
I thought it was because, like, they had a Pokemon that they tried to make use Metrodome at one point. And it was just the Drowsy again. I don't think it was just their Pokemon. They were just using the Drowsy some more. It never seemed to suggest... Because they never bring him out with a Pokeball or anything. Okay.
That's the only reason I'm saying it. Like, it probably was, but it might have been just a Team Rocket Pokemon, you know what I mean? Not even theirs. Whereas Raticate definitely seems like their companion.
Okay.
But we don't see him enough, so it's hard to say. Like, we saw the Drowsy... We only saw the Drowsy the one time. We've seen Raticate both times, and now we see Raticate again. And this time we actually saw Butch bring out a Primeape. Then, in the middle of the battle, the wall is busted through by a large crane driven by Jessie, and sitting beside her is Meowth. Hanging from the crane is James in an outrageous Moltres outfit. I am the flame that burns brightest, a flame that lights the night, a flame that shatters the darkness. I am a flaming Moltres! That's what he says when he comes in. Meowth asks where he got the outfit while sitting in the cab next to Jessie. Her response is, I think that costume came right out of his closet. The innuendo here, and the suggestion of him saying he was a flaming Moltres, and then that his outfit came right out of the closet, was very amusing. James soars in and chooses Victory Bell. And then we get another distracted Pokemon because Victory Bell goes to eat James, but instead James kicks Victory Bell and then shouts orders around, and Victory Bell listens and does it well.
Victory Bell's like, oh, sorry.
The confidence from James is, like, so good. And if he just kept it, he would be amazing.
Yeah, because he wasn't even phased. He's just like, boom.
Yep, he just swings from his position, dangling from the crane.
So funny.
It was so funny. James keeps calling Butch Botch, and I think even Misty or somebody said it earlier in the episode, maybe. I don't remember. But Butch is called Botch more than once in this episode, and he does not like it.
I think he doesn't like it, and so James purposely keeps doing it, because he's got the...
Oh, yeah. Attitude. I think so. Which is great. I love it. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
But then Cassidy tells James the fortune-telling book is a fake, and they made up all the stuff that's in it. And that's all it took to defeat James. His confidence is shattered. Poor James.
I feel bad for him.
Wobbuffet even does. He comes and comforts James.
Wobbuffet.
He comes and, like, pats him on the back, I think.
Because, like, the crane, like, the rope that he was hanging from snaps or something, and he falls in.
Yeah. All confidence gone. So now Jesse gets involved, and a battle ensues. Meanwhile, the gang go to try to free all the Pokemon, while the two Team Rocket groups fight each other. Butch and Cassidy send Team Rocket blasting off again!
Ding!
Ding! But now it's another fight with Butch and Cassidy versus the gang. Ash and Co. win, and Butch and Cassidy are arrested. They're always arrested, it seems. Then Jenny
They're not part of the show business.
I guess. Then Jenny pulls out the real fortune-telling book and says they must have copied it from this, or whatever. Misty and Brock take a look, but we don't find out what they are. And then Jesse and James and Meowth trudge along, and then they find the real book as well, in a store. And James looks through it, and then, oh no, it can't be! And we also don't find out what he is either. Is there any speculations what he found? Did you have an immediate thought? Because I had an immediate thought as soon as I saw it.
What?
Magikarp!
Yes!
Because of his interactions with it too. I'm like, nope, he's a Magikarp right off the bat. That's what he found. That's my theory.
I don't disagree at all.
So if he just kept... Well, it actually makes a lot of sense. Magikarp is often useless, pointless, is not helpful, right? Causes problems. He had one, so he could have been lucky with it, right? But hidden inside the Magikarp is what? A very powerful and intimidating creature that can do quite a bit. And James has that hidden inside of him. He just lacks the confidence.
Wow.
Yeah!
Because doesn't Magikarp need some sort of confidence or something? In Detective Pikachu, something happened like that.
Oh, I've only seen that once, so I don't remember. But I'd buy it.
I think I've seen the whole thing like once.
I actually surprisingly enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to, but I liked it.
It was okay.
And then who's that Pokemon is Girafarig, the Pokemon from last episode. So the trend continues. Alright, our tally this time is interesting intro. We're off again when they say we're blasting off already and crash into the fountain area. Modified motto, because we get the Butch and Cassidy motto. So it's a modified motto that we'll hear, like we've already heard twice before, and I wouldn't be surprised if we hear again. But it's still technically a modified motto.
Yeah.
We had babysitting Brock and a distracted Pokemon when Victory Bell tries to eat James. Such a good moment!
So good!
And now time to rank it.
I think it's the new number 1. Actually, probably not quite that. Sappy ending's pretty good, but I think it could actually be right up there. If you disagree with this, let me know, but maybe, like, right under the Chikorita Rescue? Number 6. If you think that's too high.
I do not think it's too high.
Think it's too low?
Well, you don't really like the Chikorita Rescue, so do you think it's better than Ignorance is Blissey is the question. Okay, do you think it is under Tricks of the Trade?
Oh, maybe it could be right. I could see it right there.
Okay.
What do you think, right there?
Sounds good to me.
It was a really funny episode. Mostly just because of James. I mean, sure, it's cool that Butch and Cassidy showed up again, but James made this episode,
so good. Alright, so the final tallies for the Johto Journeys. And, I will add all the tallies together eventually, at the end of every season, so everybody knows what our total is overall. But we will start a new tally marker for the next season. So that's what all the updates will get until we get to the finale again.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, our Johto Journeys, and the only tally we have so far, because I have to go back and do the other ones eventually, are these. Babysitting Brock, 27. Big Brother Pikachu, 1. Broken Bridges, 4. Busted Bots, 13. Catching Catchphrases, 11. Distracted Pokemon, 37. Entertaining Exits, 3. Evolutions, 1. Friendly Fire, 11. Gotta Catch 'em All, 7. Gotta Give 'em Up, 3. Interesting Intro, 37. So Distracted Pokemon and Interesting Intros are tied. We're only missing 4 to have a complete season worth of them. Granted, especially Distracted Pokemon happened multiple times in some episodes, so there's definitely episodes where there was none. Irritating Interruptions, 7. Jumpin' Jigglypuff, 5. Modified Motto, 7. One Track Ash, 3. Side Exciting, 7. Recurring Rivals, 1. Rockin' Reunions, 3. Shiny, 1. Team Up Rocket, 4. Togepi Trouble, 2. We're Off Again, 14. Vanity, 4. Also, I just realized while we were talking about it that one might be able to suggest that there was a team up rocket happening with Butch and Cassidy episode as well, because they were all kind of after Butch and Cassidy, but they didn't actually team up to do it. They were kind of doing their own separate things.
Yeah, it'd be kind of like those superhero shows or whatever. Like, one superhero is doing it by themselves and, like, everyone else isn't, so they're not really teaming up. And then, like, they come together or whatever. So I wouldn't count it.
I'm glad we're agreed. Because, like, I would definitely argue that there's a team up rocket in the Orange Islands episode, because they literally came up with a plan together.
Yeah, that's team up.
But not this one.
Especially since, I mean, if it was a plan for Team Rocket to distract the other Team Rocket, I could see it. But in this one, the gang ditched Team Rocket so that they could have time to free Pokemon.
Sure. So then our episode rankings are episode 41, Roll On Pokemon.
Roll On Pokemon.
40, The Psychic Sidekicks. 39, About with Sprout. 38, For Crying Out Loud. 37, The Superhero Secret. 36, Flower Power. 35, The Little Bighorn. 34, Hour of the Hound Hour. 33, Foul Weather Friends. 32, The Whistle Stop. 31, No Big Whoop. 30, Hot Matches. 29, Don't Touch That Dial. 28, A Shadow of a Drought. 27, Going Apricorn. 26, Getting the Bugs Out. 25, Grin to Win. 24, Snubble Snobbery. 23, Forest Grumps. 22, Love Totodile Style. 21, The Totodile Duel. 20, Tanks a Lot. 19, Chikorita's Big Upset. 18, The Fire-ing Squad. 17, Fighting Flyer with Fire. 16, Charizard's Burning Ambitions. 15, Foul Play. 14, Good Quill Hunting. 13, Wired for Battle. 12, Tunnel Vision. 11, Once in a Blue Moon. 10, Mild and Woolly. 9, A Far-Fetched Tale. 8, Ignorance is Blissy. 7, The Chikorita Rescue. 6, The Fortune Hunters. 5, Tricks of the Trade. 4, Illusion Confusion. 3, Spinnerack Attack. 2, Double Trouble Header. And 1, A Sappy Ending. But there's more. So, Ruby and I, as we've been ranking these episodes as we go along without knowing what's coming, have come to realize that we're not always happy with what we had decided at some points, and so we have a new game that is reserved for our end of the anime season, designed to change the rankings and shake them up just a little bit. Here's how it will work. Ruby and I will each have a Pokeball, a Great Ball, and an Ultra Ball. With the Pokeball, we will be able to raise the ranking of an episode by 1 point, the Great Ball by 3 points, and the Ultra Ball by 5 points.
Up to that number.
Up to. It doesn't have to be the full amount. We also will have a Master Ball, but the Master Ball is only for the entire season of Routes Through Pokemon, therefore all the seasons of anime for the Johto League. So we can only use it once, so if we use it here, it's gone, and cannot be used in Johto League Champions or the one after that. We also have a Repel that can knock a ranking down by 5 points. And then we also will have a Lure, which can either knock down something by 3 points, or raise something up by 1 point, like a Pokeball, or be used in conjunction with any Pokeball to increase it by 1.
So can you only use one thing on an episode?
Oh, yeah. Can you
unless
catch a
it's lure?
Pokemon in multiple Pokeballs? No, you cannot.
Okay.
So a Pokeball can only be used on one episode. You can't use a Great Ball and a Pokeball on the same episode. But you can use a lure because you brought it in with the lure and then caught it.
Okay.
So that's how that'll work. And we will choose in secret, and then we will change the rankings based off of those.
Okay.
Alright, so we've made our decisions.
I think I'm pretty okay with mine. I don't know.
Alright, so starting off with the repel. Let's get the really big negative thing out of the way. What did you repel?
Oh, I wrote repel on both of those, even though one was a lure. My bad. I repelled the Chikorita rescue.
I was afraid you were going to do that because I did it too.
How much did you do the full thing?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Alright, Chikorita Rescue is now dropped to right under Fighting Flyer with Fire and right above the Firing Squad, which honestly seems like an actual perfect place for it.
Doesn't sound bad.
I think that actually worked out pretty good.
Okay.
But it's our new number 17, bumping everything else that was under it up by 1. Alright. Now the Pokeball. I'll go first this time, I guess. So I used my Pokeball on Tunnel Vision, because I thought that one was fantastic and deserved a little bit better.
Where's that?
It is currently under Once in a Blue Moon.
How dare you?
Because, like, the whole Jigglypuff Snubble showing up and doing stuff, and the bonding between Meowth and Jigglypuff. It was fantastic. It was a great episode.
Well, I used my Pokeball on A Bout with Sprout.
Oh, your bias has died, so you thought it deserved a little better shake, huh?
Yeah, just a little.
just a little.
Because it still was kind of like a...
It wasn't a strong episode, right? Yeah, no, I didn't feel too... Like, I'm the one who put it down there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Tunnel Vision is now between Mild and Woolly and Once in a Blue Moon. Meanwhile, About with Sprout is now between The Superhero Secret and For Crying Out Loud. So, I will also, like, make this list and post it on the Facebook group, Routes Through Pokemon. So if anybody ever wants to look at it, it'll be there. Alright, so next is the Great Ball. Where did you use your Great Ball?
I used my Ultra Ball on it, so you should be a little happy.
I knew you were going to. That's why I didn't care that I moved something up further.
I used it on Once in a Blue Moon. But I intentionally didn't use my Ultra Ball on it. Because I know you don't like it a lot.
Once in a Blue Moon. Alright, so it goes up 3.
Where does that put it if it goes up 3?
Well, it goes above Tunnel Vision again now. Mild and Woolly. And a Farfetch'd Tale. So it's between Ignorance is Blissey and a Farfetch'd Tale.
Is a Farfetch'd Tale the one with the charcoal?
Yes, it was.
I think I might want it right under that because that was really cool how they all met together.
Okay, so you're only using 2 points worth of it.
Yeah.
Alright, that's fine. Now that you've made that decision, I think it's fine to adjust it a little bit there. But
I really like Great Once in a Blue Moon.
you would have only actually needed a Pokeball for that originally.
How much does a Pokeball do?
1, and it would have only been 1, but I moved something else up, so...
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so now it's Once in a Blue Moon, Mild and Woolly, Tunnel Vision, and Wired for Battle. Because Tunnel Vision was above Wired for Battle, and it now is exactly above it again. Basically, Mild and Woolly just kind of switch places with Once in a Blue Moon.
Where'd you use your Great Ball?
My Great Ball I used on Good Quill Hunting. It was brought down because of the Brat, but I didn't think that was fair because the Brat really had hardly any role. Cyndaquil was great. The use of Friendly Fire was fantastic. Cyndaquil's interactions and mistaken information from Ash, thinking it was told to go away, was adorable. And just all the antics of everybody crossing paths, because you had the Jerk, Team Rocket, and Ash all running around in the caves, going kind of after different things and the same things. And it was just such a fantastic episode. I think Rosella felt pressured to bring it down further and not to give it a bias, and I felt that was unfortunate. So it definitely needed more. Not only did I use the Great Ball on it, but I used a lure with it.
You just wanted to get it above Once in a Blue Moon.
If Once in a Blue Moon didn't move, it would have been above it anyway.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
Like, without the lure or whatever. But, like, you just wanted to get it above there.
I didn't. I just felt it deserved better than where it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still under Once in a Blue Moon.
I know, but your original goal was just to get it up there.
Oh, okay. I thought you were moving Once in a Blue Moon anyway. So if my goal was that, I would have used Ultra Ball on it. It's right under Once in a Blue Moon now, isn't it?
So should I say where my lure is?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we probably should have established if you had used it for the negatives. Should have done it earlier. But did you use it for a negative?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I brought down the Double Trouble header.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's fair. I like both a lot. I love the baseball puns throughout the whole episode, but also the James and Jesse cat burglar situation in Spinnerack Attack is fantastic. So, and that just leaves the Ultra Ball. So the Ultra Ball I used on the Fortune Hunters.
Where's that?
It was between Tricks of the Trade and Chikorita Rescue. Yes, it makes it the new number 1.
What? No, it's not. Daddy! What? No!
You have no idea how much I love that one.
I could see maybe putting it as number 2.
Fortune Hunters is great.
1? No! Why? No!
Alright, what's yours?
Sappy ending.
That's a bunch of crap, because it was already number 1.
I did consider putting something on it just in case, but I'm like, I trust you, Daddy.
Well, to put something on it, you just have to put the Pokeball on it.
Why?
Because I really, really liked it. Also, fun bit of trivia. Apparently, I think it's the line that I read for you all, with Jame saying, I am, the light in the dark and all that stuff. Supposedly, that was the actor's favorite line to record in all his time during Pokemon. Because it's just such a fun line. I'm sorry that upsets you.
How dare you. Alright. I used my Ultra Ball. I just used it as a 4 because I didn't know if it should go that high, but I used it on Grindelwin. I like that one.
Oh, Grindelwin?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you liked it better than I thought. That's cool. So you went up 4 spaces?
Yeah.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's between Tanksalot and Totodile Duel?
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
Can't believe you did this to me, Daddy. I was so impressed, and I love that. I thought it was so cool that,
Episode 3 was the number 1 this whole time?
So I could see definitely being number 2.
Hey, it took the season finale to break it off. That's impressive. It lasted the entire season up until the finale.
That's fair.
Alright, so yeah, it's a bit of a mess right now, so I'm not going to read through it all again, especially since you probably don't want me read the entire list all over again. But I will post the list once I get it all typed back up on the Facebook group, so you can check it out there. But yeah, our new shake-up for the top 5, I will give you that. So number 5 is Illusion Confusion. Number 4 is Double Trouble Header. Number 3 is Spinnerack Attack. Number 2, A Sappy Ending. And number 1, The Fortune Hunters.
I guess I accepted it a little more now.
James is basically my favorite character, I think, in the whole show, so...
I didn't think you liked it that much. That's why I didn't put it as, number 2.
Oh, yeah? Oh, I thought it was great, but I let you lead the way on it, because it was your opinion, and then I would, offer mine afterwards.
Yeah, if you told me you liked it so much, I would have put it at
I
number
love
2
this
right
episode
away.
so much. Then I wouldn't have had to use an Ultra Ball on it.
I don't know, you probably made something else number 1.
But I did...
You hate me.
No, we both agreed for Heracross to be up there this whole time. I love the Heracross episode. That's why it's number 2.
I guess I can see. Just because I love Heracross doesn't mean he's to be number 1 now.
Alright, but now we will be jumping into the first 2 episodes of Johto League Champions. We start with episode 160, or Season 4, Episode 1.
Woohoo!
A Goldenrod Opportunity, or Kogane Jimu, Supido Ando Power, or Kogane Jim, Speed and Power. So apparently Goldenrod City is Kogane. Now first off, this season already shakes things up, because we have a cold opening. Do you know what a cold opening is?
Mm-mm.
That is when a show just starts.
Oh.
With no credits or theme song or anything, it just starts the story. And then usually it goes into a theme or a title screen or something after that, which this does. So we have a cold opening to start this off, but on top of all that, we have finally reached Goldenrod City! Woohoo!
Woo-hoo!
And then after all that, we get a new theme song.
And it's actually pretty cool.
It is pretty good. I really like that it calls back to the original theme song, and then it shakes things up some more. We also have a new title card background, so when they tell us the title, it looks all different.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, the city is bustling, and Brock and Misty are excited about all kinds of shops, girls, and food. Brock is the one excited about the girls.
No, that was Misty.
But Ash wants to stay focused and take on the gym, because that's what he always wants to do. But when they find the gym, it turns out that it is closed, kind of like the second gym was. It's closed until the next day, though. Not because of a drought this time. They try to go visit the Galleria instead, but they can't seem to find their way through the city. They just keep getting lost. Pikachu...
Wow, such idiots getting lost. What?
It's all because they have Ruby guiding them.
How rude! I think if I could see something in front of me, I would be able to get there. They are being...
There's a lot of tall buildings in the way. It's hard to see.
I would be able to walk in one direction and keep checking. I think I could make it.
Except they have to keep taking different directions to get around buildings and stuff. That's part of the problem.
I could make it.
So Pikachu has an idea and runs off, but he accidentally bumps into a Clefairy, and its owner shows up, and she's a girl for Brock to fall in love with. She gave Pikachu a kiss because he might have gotten hurt. So Brock slams his head against the brick wall beside him and get a bump, so he might get a kiss too. I was so dumb. He's just like, out of nowhere, wham! While they're all having a conversation, he's kind of just in the background. Like, they don't focus on him, but he does it, and it's hilarious.
And I was confused for a second. I'm like, why? I didn't catch on right away. So.
Oh, it was so funny. But thankfully, Misty is there and is babysitting Brock by pulling him away by his ear.
Wait, Brock, you already have to be babysitted in the first episode.
Yep. The girl offers to take them all to the Galleria because she knows the way, like she knows her own name, which is Whitney!
And I knew before she said her name was Whitney that she was the gym leader. As soon as we saw her, I'm like...
Well, she looks just like the gym leader.
Yes, black and white. Well, it's not black and white
It's
anymore.
not,
So.
but the outfit was the same, the hairstyle's the same, like, it was the sprite. Like, it looks a little different because it's not just a little 8-bit sprite or whatever, but...
Why not?
Anyway. But yes, this is the gym leader. By this point, the gang does not know that, though. So Whitney takes them to what looks like a subway entrance so that they can get around the city easier. Because the underground paths must be easier, I guess.
Because it's not as crowded.
Sure. But you also can't see what you're looking.
Yeah, I would suck at the underground tunnels.
But I thought it was really cool that they included the underground, since that is a thing that's in Goldenrod City. And there's even a shopping arcade down there, so there's things you can buy and stuff, which is also like the underground in the game. Whitney leads them back up to the Galleria, but it actually took them farther away from the Galleria. So she hurries back down and takes them to another shortcut, which actually just takes them into a hair salon, which is also in the game. And it's run by two brothers, like it is in the game. I don't know if you visited the thing often.
I visited once.
And talked to them, because if you go different days, it's different people, a different guy that's there. It's like, oh, I'm the older one. I'm the younger one.
So I was like, where's the other one then? But
yeah, they're both there. So that was a cool little thing that they included. So they get hungry, and Whitney's like, well, I'll just take you back to the hamburger stand then instead, because they had found a hamburger stand early on. The gang did, and wanted to eat. And she's like, well, I'll just take you back there. And in the effort to take them there, they all come out by the Galleria.
I so get Whitney though. Like, you go somewhere that you wanted to go originally, but then you tried to go somewhere else because you couldn't find that spot. I so get that.
So you and Whitney have a lot in common. Are you saying that?
Not necessarily, because I think it'd be easier to go to the big, tall building in the middle of the street. But...
Meanwhile, Team Rocket is eating free samples at a grocery store. But not all those are free samples, and they are confronted by the owner. So then Team Rocket launches into a motto with an interesting intro, and that leads into a modified motto.
Woohoo, starting it off good. Now you're in for a bunch of trouble.
We're eating lunch, so make it double.
To eat and drink to our heart's content.
Without even having to spend a single cent.
To denounce the evils of paying for food.
We won't leave a single sample unchewed.
Jesse!
James.
Team Rocket loves scarfing down free samples at the speed of light.
Yes, and we like to eat even more than we like to fight. The lady explains what a free sample dish is, and most of what they ate wasn't on one, and they have to pay. But they have no money, of course. So they are put to work. While doing that work, they see a Clefairy and go chasing after it. Then we see Whitney and the gang leaving the Galleria, because they apparently were shopping in there. But we just don't see that happen. And Brock and Ash are carrying all of Misty's purchases. Then Whitney realizes that her Clefairy is missing. So they all go around the park looking, and Team Rocket is doing the same thing. Brock gets stuck carrying all the packages now, so he can't see what's happening. Team Rocket stuffs Clefairy into a bag, but they are seen by Whitney and the gang. Because he can't see, Brock is wondering what's going on. Team Rocket is running away, and then... Who's that Pokemon? Now, I bring that up here now because the screens are different, and they now include, along with the silhouette, a bit of trivia at the bottom about the Pokemon. So, here, we will give that trivia to you, and you can try to figure it out. Granted, this will be pretty easy most of the time, I think. But the clue is, the Pokemon's shell is extremely soft when it's born. Team Rocket finds a super fast monorail train to escape when we come back from the little commercial break. But the worker there ends up telling them the next train doesn't leave until a year from next Tuesday. Because it's not running yet. Just like how it wasn't running yet in our game. So more
Which
parallels to the game.
suggests that in the game, sometime it'll be running.
It does suggest that, yes. I just don't know where it'll take us or what it will do with it. I don't know if it's a quick shot to the new places we haven't even reached yet in the game or what. But maybe it'll go to all the towns.
That's what I was thinking.
So, like, we could just shoot from New Bark to...
Like the elevators, except you'll be on a train and you have options of towns and stuff.
Oh, right, with the buttons. Yeah, I could see that. So Team Rocket jumps on a hand car and pump the levers to get it moving. And apparently it's a magnetic one, so it's kind of like levitating on the track or whatever. And they aren't going fast, and Pikachu catches up and starts to gather energy up for a zap. Jessie then is like, no, and gives up Clefairy, and Meowth then snatches Pikachu instead, and they go carting away. While everybody was distracted with getting Clefairy back. So Whitney tells Clefairy to use Metronome. It creates... Which is the first time we ever saw Metronome, was in the Clefairy episode of Mount Moon.
Oh, I'm like, no, we've seen Togepi use it in that one.
No, I mean we saw it way back in Mount Moon episode, because they all used it and exploded. The Metronome causes a gust, which brings Pikachu back. Then he zaps the car, which increases the magnetic energy, and so Team Rocket fly off really fast in an entertaining exit.
Wait, do they not come back?
They do not. Wobbuffet is hanging on for dear life, and it is hilarious looking. And then they vanish into a tunnel to who knows where, and they vanish, and then they're gone with a ding. Whitney says she'd sure like to have a match with Ash, but he's gearing up for the gym battle tomorrow, so he can't do that right now. That's when Whitney reveals who she is, and she takes them to the gym so Ash can have his match. They agree to a 3 versus 3.
The reason the gym was closed is because she was on like a break or whatever.
It was her day off or whatever. Yeah.
But she likes battling, so she's like, oh yeah, let's battle.
Yep.
Just wanted to make that clear, because it would seem a little weird why.
Oh, sure.
At least to me.
So anyway, they agreed to a 3 versus 3, and the normal type gym leader starts off with a Nidorina, which is not a normal type Pokemon at all. Cyndaquil defeats Nidorina, so then Whitney switches out to Clefairy. That one is normal type, in this game at least, and it starts using Metronome. But this is one of those matches where the winner isn't just switching out his Pokemon along with the defeat, which is good. Like, Cyndaquil won, but he still stays out there. Clefairy uses Metronome and does a splash attack, which I thought was hilarious that they allowed that to happen, to get a bad move from it. Because it can happen.
Yeah, I'm like, because it can happen.
Because you know what Metronome does?
You wave your little hands, and then anything could happen.
Basically, they use any move that's available.
You could splash, confusion, super sound, like if...
Any move that exists in the game.
Mm-hmm.
There might be some exceptions, I don't know for sure, but yeah, generally any move that's in the game. But it's random, and that includes doing a splash.
Sometimes I think it's, with especially Togepi, like it does some things that might not actually be able to happen by a certain move, but...
You mean in the anime?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably, but in the game...
Yeah.
That's how it works. And Splash is certainly an option. Do you remember another Pokemon that knew Splash besides Magikarp in our game? Do you remember?
Hoppip.
Yeah.
I knew it!
Alright.
And it came to me so quickly.
It did. That was very good. So Cyndaquil defeats Clefairy, since it's just splashing. And Brock, I think, had a dumb line where it's like, well, there's no water, so it can't do anything good with the Splash. But, I mean, Splash doesn't do anything good anyway. So now, there is only one more, and this one is Whitney's star. Miltank. Holy cow. Now, I've learned from hearing from other people and reading things online that apparently this gym is actually supposed to be pretty tough for the first time that you run into it because of Miltank and its rollout move. Because what rollout does apparently is it gets stronger and stronger as it keeps going. And so it takes off like a little bit of life and more life and more life and more life, right? Like,
wait, so it's supposed to be hard for you and me?
Yeah, for anybody going into the battle. It's supposed to be a difficult gym battle. And it was actually not our hardest battle at all. Faulkner was our hardest one.
Sorry.
So I was kind of surprised because, like, I think we lucked out to some extent. Like, we knew when we saw normal, we're like, okay, well, we'll try to have things that are strong against normal attacks. And we also got Machop strength enough to fight the normal type, right? Because I think rollout might be a ground move, which would be actually super effective against Geodude, but I don't know for sure. It might be a normal move. I don't really know. But the point is that we just had Machop out there and beat her up before it got bad. Because I think I lost a decent chunk of life, because I think it might have hit me like once or twice or something. I don't know. But
I don't remember it hitting me at all.
It didn't last long. But apparently it's supposed to be a surprise. Like, it's usually easy after the first fight, but for us it was easy right off the bat. I don't know. That's what I've heard anyway. Anyway, Miltank totally takes out Cyndaquil, and then Ash uses Totodile, and he's taken out by Rollout.
Taken out by Rollout.
Yeah, taken out by Rollout. And then it gets to Pikachu, who they thought would utilize Totodile's water to conduct the electricity to defeat Miltank, but apparently the rollout is so fast that Miltank is dry before it can take effect. And then Pikachu also loses. So much for the plain badge. Whitney lets Ash know if he ever wants a rematch, just to let her know. And that's that for the episode. And for our Who's That Pokemon, it was Squirtle. Squirtle, squirt.
So Squirtle has a soft shell when born.
Alright, tally. We have a babysitting Brock, an interesting intro, a modified motto, and an entertaining exit as Team Rocket rides their little electrified handcart, through a tunnel and ding.
That's right, we split up into two. I was so confused, but it was so short left, and you said the Team Rocket didn't show up again. I'm like, okay.
And then we get to episode 161, or season 4, episode 2, a Dairy Tale ending, or Miru Tanku, Rebenji Batoru, or Miltank, Revenge Battle. Revenge! Have you ever heard of the game Worms?
No.
That's where that came from, just so you know. That's a fun game. Anyway, silly game. Used to play it a lot as a teenager. We open with a recap of last episode, and then jump into the opening theme. So our cold opening this time was actually just a recap, not anything interesting, really. Ash has his Pokemon in the Pokemon Center to recover. Ash is feeling like he might need to just head back home since he lost. Dramatic much? Like he's ready to just throw in the towel and give it all up because he lost a match.
Everything? Oh my gosh.
Just go back home? Joy tells him he should get some food and rest too, and maybe that'll help his spirits. The next day, Whitney shows up, and Pikachu is happy to see her, and then she marches off and tells them all to follow because she wants to show them something. They visit a place outside the city, and it is a Miltank farm owned by Whitney's uncle Milton. There they are offered plenty of Miltank milk. Then we cut to Team Rocket, who are in rough shape from their little train car ride. They learned that the train track ends at a brick wall all the way in Saffron City, which is the Sabrina gym, the psychic gym. But it's also the hub of Kanto, you could argue, because if you go north, you're in Cerulean. If you go south, you're in Vermilion. If you go west, you're in Celadon. If you go east, you're in Lavender Town.
Yeah.
So it is kind of like a big hub. But yeah, apparently the train track took them all the way into Kanto and to Saffron City.
We're gonna go to Saffron City. In the games.
I don't know if the game is big enough for that. For a Game Boy game? To include both regions? Because remember, like, the first game only had that stuff and was already, like, they couldn't cram any more Pokemon in there.
Alright, fine. I see how it is.
I just thought it was cool that they, like, reference Kanto again in this one. Because they talk about Pallet Town and we see Delia and Oak sometimes, but that's about it. Like, that's the extent. So,
I mean, we do jump to Pallet Town when we see Oak on the computer.
right.
They'll sometimes like flip the screen.
Yeah.
So we are in Pallet Town.
Well, we saw a little bit more of it in the movie too, but that's about it though. It's just Pallet Town, not the rest of Kanto. You don't hear about Saffron City and stuff like that. So it was just cool to have some of that kind of referenced again. Then they find they're at the farm, and so they dream of all the Miltank products they could consume and enjoy, and they find the barn where they likely store the stuff. Back at the house, the gang are offered to try some of the other things from Miltank as well, and so Whitney leaves to get some. You know, other dairy products, basically. Team Rocket is in the storage area and start tearing through the supplies, and Whitney shows up and starts chasing them down. It must be connected to the house because Team Rocket ends up rushing through the living area and stuff, and so Ash and them also chase down Team Rocket as well, and Pikachu zaps them.
To be fair, they haven't done anything bad this episode, so all the chasing.
They did do something bad. They snuck into the barn, opened the fridge, and started eating all the cheese and stuff.
Oops.
That's what Whitney's found them doing, and that's why they ran away. So a battle starts, and Whitney brings in Miltank to roll out against Team Rocket and their Pokemon, and soon they are blasting off again! No ding. They just land out over some trees. Ash wants to learn more about Miltank, and so Ash and them get to brush some Miltank to brush up on their knowledge. Then we get our Who's That Pokemon clue. This Pokemon's stomach juices can digest any type of poison. Then back to the show, the gang is learning how they get milk from the Miltanks. Then they go watch Whitney train her Miltank on a hill where she has the Miltank shoot down fast with rollout, and then she has it work hard to roll back up the hill. Rolling up that hill.
Don't think that's how the song goes.
It is in the Pokemon world. And we all live in a Pokemon world. Then Team Rocket comes back with another busted bot. That is a giant barrel that they're going to use to steal all the Miltank. And then we get an interesting intro.
A barrel it is, so prepare for trouble.
And you're over it, so make it double.
You're over it?
There's a phrase saying about being over a barrel.
Oh. Huh.
It's usually like being in a predicament of some kind. Yeah, this was an interesting intro, even though James doesn't actually rhyme that first part. He only rhymes the normal part. Usually he rhymes both parts. But it was because he mentions them being over it in reference to the saying of being over a barrel.
Okay.
So it was a clever thing. After the motto, they extend these arms out of the barrel. One grabs Whitney's Miltank, and then it rolls on down the hill and almost runs over everyone. And then the other hand snags Pikachu. And his shocks don't work again.
Shocking.
Since the hand that popped out is rubber. After that, Ash has Cyndaquil slow Team Rocket down, and then he has Totodile start digging some ditches with its water gun move. Meanwhile, we learn that they can't steer their barrel because Meowth figured they'd just be going down the hill. So they didn't design it to steer.
They should have at least put pedals in.
When they start back up, they get thrown off by the ditches Totodile dug. When they land again, James is hanging on to some of the controls, and they snap off and release Miltank and Pikachu. Then Pikachu thunderbolts them, and the barrel explodes, sending Team Rocket blasting off again! Ding! Wabba wob! So, for saving the Miltank, they offer Ash something in return, and so his favor is to ask for a match against Whitney and her Miltank, with the deal that if he wins, he can rematch her at the gym. This is the stupidest favor I have ever heard. Because he can go to the gym anytime he wants for a rematch. Yeah. She even said that at the last episode. Mm-hmm. You don't need to make a deal to have a match to win the right to have a rematch.
Such an idiot.
Oh, Ash. Alright. So a waste of a favor there. So they battle, but this doesn't really seem all that fair because she only uses her Miltank, and Ash uses the same three Pokemon from before, Cyndaquil, Totodile, and Pikachu. And this time he learned something, so he uses the ditch-digging technique he learned to throw off Miltank's rollout, so that when Pikachu gets in there, he's able to help throw Miltank off and finish with the zapping.
I mean, to be fair, yes, it's not fair. And I agree with that. But, Cyndaquil took the first two Pokemon last time, so you could probably done that and still done that.
Oh, I agree. So Ash wins, and Whitney gives him the badge right then and there, instead of having to go to the gym for another match, because Whitney actually understands that you don't need to have multiple matches for this kind of stuff. And now Ash and the gang can continue on. And our Who's That Pokemon was Snorlax. And our tally is only 2. A busted bot and an interesting intro.
Both by Team Rocket.
I know we didn't rank the first episode, but guess what? You can't, because there was nothing to rank it against.
Oh, yes. Which one was better?
But before we get into that, our total tallies for the season so far are 1 babysitting Brock, 1 busted bot, 1 entertaining exit, 2 interesting intros, and 1 modified motto. Alright, let's rank this. Do you think a Dairy Tale ending is better or worse than a Goldenrod opportunity? That is all you have to decide.
You can decide this one. I'll decide the next one. Or maybe not.
Sure, I will decide. That's an easy one for me. Goldenrod opportunity wins. It had Jesse and James's modified motto. It had a fun little, chase scene. Whitney's confused directions were hilarious. We got to see so many things from the video game. And we had a fun battle towards the end. There was one more thing and Brock slamming his head against a wall was hilarious. The second one was fine. It was enjoyable. The brushing joke was kind of funny to me. But the episode itself was not that exciting, and there was some really stupid decisions on the favor thing at the end.
I agree with you.
Alright. So yes, I think the episodes in order are episode 1 and then episode 2. So I pulled up some trivia on Miltank, or Miru Tanku, which is just it's just their version of Miltank. That's just them saying Miltank. There's not a whole lot of mystery to Miltank. It seems pretty clear that the name comes from milk and tank, like a tank that holds milk. Not necessarily. It might be about a tank as in like the military type of vehicle, because it just keeps on pummeling through. But also you keep milk in like a tank, so you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So it could be either one. Oh, another possible, but very unlikely option is they could mean tank as in, like, the role that you would take in an RPG. There are different kinds of roles, like who does most of the damage and stuff, who is healing, like a healer, that's what you call it. But a tank is the one who, like, gets in front and takes most of the blows to protect everybody else. So you could argue that Miltank might be that too, but I doubt it. And that, I'm sure, the idea of that tank comes from the idea of the military tank, which is a big armored vehicle that protects people inside of it. The Pokemon itself seems very clearly designed after dairy cows. I don't think that's a question. But one point of interest, I think, is that this Pokemon does seem to be the counterpart to Tauros. Neither have an evolution currently. And if you research them, they seem to have the same total base stats in the game. If you look at their stats, like what they start with, their base stats are like identical numbering. And they're very similar creatures. To add to this, apparently, you can only ever find female Miltank. There are no male Miltanks. And guess what? There are no female Tauros. So they are counterparts. So I thought that was all interesting. Something else I was thinking about, though. Who earns the Pokeball for this episode? And then at the end of the season, who gets, like, the Ultra Ball out of the whole season?
I don't know.
So, like, for example, we'd say, okay, who gets the Pokeball this season? Well, Miltank seems to be kind of the special one, so we'd probably give it to Miltank, right? It's not like Pikachu or anything. Well, Totodile maybe could have earned it, right? And then, like, the next handful of episodes, who was the best Pokemon in that one would get the Pokeball. Alright. So, for our manga, we are on Volume 9 still, and we're on Chapter 105 and 106. So first, Smeargle Smudge. We start off at the Violet City Gym, where Bill and others welcome Faulkner as a new gym leader. Remember, a while back we saw him going off to give him a test. One of the guys tells Bill he needs to do them a favor, now they've installed Faulkner as a gym leader, and he tells them he's trying to fix the Pokemon transfer system, but he doesn't even know why it broke in the first place, making that really difficult. Bill also has another friend almost ready to take the exam to become a gym leader, and then Faulkner is given the Zephyr Badge to protect. During the ceremony, Faulkner thinks of Gold and how he passed his exam using the Skarmory Gold helped him capture. He wishes he knew where Gold was to thank him or something. Then we cut to the outskirts of Goldenrod City. Gold is on a cliff and is amazed that it is so bright and huge and looks like it is midday when it is closer to midnight. He has heard it has all kinds of stores and game corners and such, but he has no money and decides to not think about that and get some rest and sets up his sleeping bag. While sleeping, a Smeargle shows up and paints his face. Is this the manga version of Jigglypuff?
It looks like it.
So Gold wakes up and chases down Smeargle into the city and battles him using his Pokemon. It is going well, but then Smeargle inks his eyes, and Gold can't see, so Smeargle gets away. Then some guy says he was impressed by Gold's teamwork with his Pokemon and wants to bring Gold onto a radio show he produces. Gold is so excited because he's going to make money, but he's also pretty sure that station is where DJ Mary works, and so he can finally meet her. As Gold goes through the building, he sees the Smeargle through a window. So he starts banging on the door that will get him to the Smeargle just as DJ Mary is starting her show in that room and is introducing her guest, Gym Leader Whitney. When Gold enters, Smeargle is snuggling up to Mary and Whitney wonders if Mary knows the boy. She doesn't. Gold is shocked that the awful Smeargle belongs to his crush, DJ Mary. Back at Elm's lab, Joey is turning on the radio to listen to Mary's show when he hears that Gold is hoping that Smeargle belongs to the other girl in the room, Whitney. Elm and Joey can't believe Gold is making a fool of himself again. In the studio, the show is taken off the air quick as Whitney and Gold blame one another for starting the problem. But then someone else comes in saying people are calling in and loving the dynamic and want a real battle. So Whitney, with her Miltank, agrees to this idea. The idea is they will engage in a Pokemon race battle, where they battle along a race route that goes through Goldenrod, through a national park, to the sign for Route 37.
I feel like all the Whitneys are just a little different. Our game was Crybaby Whitney. The anime is Friendly Whitney.
And Lost, Forgetful Lost, or like Bad Direction Whitney.
And then the manga is like Tough Whitney.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
It is interesting. So a van is going to follow to broadcast, and the race is being sponsored by the bike shop. So Whitney borrows Smee, the Smeargle, and she has Mil, the Miltank, use rollout at the beginning of the race to leave Gold behind. Oh, and Gold is also required to use the sponsored bike, but doesn't want to because he likes a skateboard, so he remodels the bike with his skateboard to create kind of like a razor scooter thing instead.
Mm-hmm.
It still has 2 wheels and the logo, so they allow it. They're like, alright, fine. The van is ahead of the group, but then finds their path blocked by a giant tree in the middle of the road that wasn't there before.
And if you know what Sudowoodo looks like, it looks like a Sudo.
And sure enough.
And it looks huge.
Yes. Chapter 106. How do you do, Sudowoodo? Whitney and Gold get to the tree and try to get it out of the way, but fire and rollout don't seem to work. It's a tree, though, so fire should burn it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then Gold finds out it responds to an attack from Polybo. But before he can figure that out, Rhydon shows up and Whitney uses Mill to battle it, but it captures her and runs off. Gold then hits the tree again with Polybo, and it shrinks down and reveals it is a Sudowoodo.
Oh, I could see that. I'm like, it's huge. But it would have to be, but now it shrinks down.
Yeah, it shrinks down.
I like it.
Gold is impressed and realizes that must have been what the wild Rhydon was looking for. Gold thinks Sudowoodo needs to not be so chicken and actually face Rhydon, so he captures the Pokemon and goes after Rhydon and Whitney. Gold decides to get at Rhydon by surprise and shoots the Sudowoodo Pokeball like a pool ball toward Rhydon. And then Sudowoodo emerges. As soon as the Pokemon pops out, it pops Rhydon in the face and takes him out. Then we cut back to the station. Whitney's arm is in a sling and she's mad at Gold, who says he won even with the race cancelled since he moved the unmovable tree and rescued his opponent.
I'm guessing her arm's in a sling because the Rhydon dropped her when Sudowoodo punched him.
Yeah, something in the capture hurt her. Seems Whitney is not taking the loss well, just like in the game.
At least she's not crying.
Sure. Meanwhile, DJ Mary is signing her name over and over and asks Gold how many he had asked for. She's signing her picture or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that was obviously the prize he was getting out of this all. Then he leaves, says he's now got money to hit the game corner, and is excited, so he must have sold a lot of them.
Yeah.
Sudowoodo makes it known he wants to continue along with Gold, and so now his name is Sudobo.
It would have been Sudowoobo.
To be continued. And that is what we're covering this week, which leaves only Pokemon cards. Alright. I will be going with Scarlet and Violet Shrouded Fable with that kind of bear guy on the front. I don't remember his name.
And I'm doing
Okidori or something, maybe.
Oh.
I don't know.
And I'm doing Temporal Forces Scarlet and Violet with like the Suicune, but the weird looking one. It smells so good.
You going first?
Is it my turn?
I don't know.
Okay, then I will go first. My first one is a Rockruff fighting type. This Pokemon is very friendly when it's young. Its disposition becomes vicious once it matures, but it never forgets the kindness of its master. Litten, fire type. It spends even the smallest amount of downtime grooming its fur with its tongue. Loose fur gathers in its stomach and serves as fuel for fiery moves.
What was it?
Litten.
Oh.
Shroomish, grass type. If it senses danger, it scatters spores from the top of its head to protect itself. Lickitung, normal type. If this Pokemon's sticky saliva gets on you and you don't clean it off, an intense itch will set in. The itch won't go away either. Like forever? Bronzong evolves from Bronzor. Psychic type. Oh, with the picture, at first it looked like it was raining lightning, but there's just lightning in the rainstorm. In ages past, this Pokemon was revered as a bringer of rain. It was found buried in the ground. Ooh. Iron Treads. Metal type, future. Sightings of this Pokemon have occurred in recent years. It resembles a mysterious object described in an old expedition journal. Item, trainer card, Buddy Puffin. Search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less and put them onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. My reverse holo is Metagross, evolves from Metatang with Metal type. Because the magnet powers of these Pokemon get stronger in freezing temperatures, Metagross living on snowy mountains are full of energy. My other reverse holo, it's also a rare, is Bramblegast, evolves from Bramblin. Evolves from Bramblin. Grass type ability, Resilient Soil. This Pokemon gets 50 HP for each prize card your opponent has taken.
Interesting.
Brambleghast wanders around arid regions. On rare occasions, mass outbreak of these Pokemon will bury an entire town.
Yikes.
Oh, I've got 2 rares. My other rare is Reclanth, fighting type. Ability Memory Dive. Each of your evolved Pokemon can use any attacks from its previous evolutions. You
Cool.
still need the necessary energy to use each attack. Cool.
Interesting.
Rock-hard scales and oil-filled swim bladders allow this Pokemon to survive the intense water pressure of the deep sea. And an electric energy.
Nice. I have Beware, evolves from Stuffle, colorless. Once it accepts you as a friend, it tries to show its affection with a hug. Letting it do that is dangerous. It could easily shatter your bones. Inkay, dark type. It spins while making its luminescent spots flash. These spots allow it to communicate with others by using different patterns of light. Drowsy, psychic. When it twitches its nose, it can tell where someone is sleeping and what that person is dreaming about. That's cool, because I remember that from the Crystal Pokedex entry.
Yeah.
Joltik, grass type. Joltik can be found clinging to other Pokemon. It's soaking up static electricity because it can't produce a charge on its own. Ha! And the Pokemon card right after that is grass type Galvantula, evolves from Joltik. Ability, Compound Eyes. Attacks used by this Pokemon do 50 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon that has an ability. It launches electrified fur from its abdomen as its means of attack. Opponents hit by the fur could be in for 3 full days and nights of paralysis.
Oh my.
I got a Power Glass trainer card. I think it's a card we've read about before, though. Crobat, evolves from Golbat, dark type. Ability, Shadowy Envoy. Once during your turn, if you played Janine's Secret Art from your hand this turn, you may draw cards until you have 8 cards in your hand. I have that card, Janine's Secret Art, because it's good with dark type, which I want to put in my Umbreon sleeve deck when I make a dark deck. Both of its legs have turned into wings. Without a sound, Crobat flies swiftly towards its prey and sinks its fangs into the nape of its target's neck. Qfont, metal type. Qfont can lift loads weighing 5 tons. In the mornings, it heads into caves with its herd in search of the ore on which these Pokemon feed. Horsey! Another reverse holo along with Qfont. Horsey makes its home in oceans with gentle currents. If this Pokemon is under attack, it spits out pitch black ink and escapes. And then my rare is Haxorus, evolves from Fraxier, dragon type. Fighting and metal are the ability, like the energy it needs for its abilities or moves. It overwhelms enemies with its prized tusks, which are sharp enough to cut through a metal transmission tower in one strike.
Cool.
And then I got a reverse holo basic water energy.
Sweet.
So that's our episode for today, which takes us to the Goldenrod City gym in the anime and manga. So now Ruby and I can jump back into Gold and Silver and Crystal and work our way to Ecruteak City, which we'll cover in our next episode, which will not be releasing next week, which is Thanksgiving week. We need a little break there, so we will be posting that in the first Tuesday of December instead. I do hope to still have something special that'll pop up during the week of Thanksgiving, but if I don't have time to get it finished, it won't be, so sorry if that fails. And we'll just save it for a Christmas present then. Yeah, so that's all that. So Routes Through Pokemon is a Hunterfield Institute production. You can find us on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and other platforms. So go ahead and like and subscribe, rate, review, and leave comments wherever you find us. We also have a Facebook page, Routes Through Pokemon, and you can also listen to us on YouTube at the Hunterfield Institute channel, and you can leave comments there as well. You can also follow me on X at HunterfieldIns, and I'm also on Instagram at kinetic_card. And if you really want to get in touch with us and send us suggestions, leave us, just reach out to us and leave messages, corrections, let us know that you hate our ratings, or what you think of the tallies and if we need to tweak them or add new ones to it, especially if you've seen further episodes and think that there's something else that we're going to need to be tracking. Go ahead and let us know. at hunterfieldmanor@gmail.com. So next week, now that we've caught up with Whitney at Goldenrod City in the anime and manga, we will now be back to the video games and detailing our journey to the 4th gym in Ekritique City and what we find and do along the way. So, we're all looking forward to that. Hope you are too. And thank you so much for listening and joining us on this exciting journey through the world of Pokemon. And we will catch you on the next round. Sayonara! Part 23. Troubling Experience. The Pidgey swooped down and knocked the pale Eevee over. It got up and shook off any dirt and grass it had picked up and watched the bird fly high again. Violet stared in shock as V had completely ignored her. That couldn't be right. V never did that. He probably didn't hear her was the problem. Still, it wasn't a great look when Violet's opponent suspected that the Eevee had been stolen.
Alright, let's try this again. V, quick attack!
At the same time, the other girl commanded her Pidgey to peck again. As the bird flew down for a second time, V watched it carefully. Then, as it got closer, the Eevee lowered its front and quickly turned around and started waving its poofy tail at the Pidgey. V was hit again. The girl who was commanding the Pidgey narrowed her eyes. She looked a lot more intense now, seemingly fueled by a righteous cause to rescue the pale Eevee from Violet the thief.
What are you doing, V? Why won't you listen?
You can stop the act,
the other girl called out.
I think it's pretty clear you're a thief.
What? You have no idea
Hey,
what—
little cutie.
The girl called out to V.
I'll help you find your home. You don't have to stay with her.
Violet could not believe the other girl would do such a thing. To try and convince V to leave? He would never do that. Right? She looked at the pale Eevee and saw that his ears had perked up. He glanced over to the other girl, who was no longer sending Pidgey to attack.
That's right. I don't want to hurt you anymore. You shouldn't be beat up just because she forced you into battle.
V then looked back at Violet. The look made her heart sink. After growing up with V always around, could he really leave her? Why would he do something like that? Something must be terribly wrong. Stretching, the Eevee rolled lazily to his feet and shook debris from himself again. He looked at Violet once again and started trotting away from her. He then turned to look at the other girl, who was beaming. Not only was she rescuing the poor Pokemon from the one who stole it, but she was about to get to hold an Eevee. And then Eevee jumped into the air and tackled the Pidgey to the ground. The girl clearly didn't understand what was happening. Violet was a little surprised too, but she caught on a little faster, knowing how mischievous V could be sometimes. The Pidgey picked itself back up and started to flap its wings, but V shot around it with a quick attack, knocking the bird right back down.
V, return!
Violet aimed the Pokeball at the furry creature, and it tried to run, but it was too late. With the Eevee safely tucked away, Violet sent out another Pokemon in its place.
Your turn, Mizu.
As the horsey emerged onto the field, the other girl recovered from the shock of V's antics. She did not look happy.
You tricked me!
Violet thought about correcting her and explaining that it was V who had done the tricking. In fact, he had actually fooled both of them, but it didn't seem to be the time and was probably not going to be believed anyway.
Mizu, bubble!
Pidgey, sand attack!
The stream of bubbles snapped at the bird, who in turn flapped its wings violently toward Mizu, getting sand in the horsey's eyes. Violet had Mizu use bubble again, but missed, and the Pidgey continued to throw sand, making it harder and harder for Mizu to see. A few more misses from Mizu, and a lot more sand, and finally the horsey landed a hit, which finished off the Pidgey.
Yes!
Violet exclaimed.
We won!
Pidgey, return!
The girl brought her defeated Pokemon back, but she still looked ready for a fight. Then she threw in another Pokeball, and a second Pidgey popped out.
Go, Pidgey 2!
Smacking herself in the face, Violet groaned. She had just assumed there would only be one to defeat because, except for the gym leader, that's all any of her opponents battled with so far. That's why she didn't care about all the sand attacks, because Mizu just needed one more hit to win. But now her horsey, who was practically blind at the moment, was going to have to face a Pidgey who was fresh and ready for battle.
Mizu, bubble!
Pidgey 2, peck!
Mizu missed. The Pidgey did not. This went on for a few more attacks, and Violet was getting desperate. She had other Pokemon to call out, but she wasn't sure if they'd fare much better, and might get hit with a bunch of sand attacks too. There was still some dust in the air from the last Pidgey's flapping, and some of it clung to Mizu's bubbles. Just like in the battle against the Onix, actually. Suddenly, Violet had an idea.
Mizu, smokescreen!
The horsey looked back at Violet and seemed a little confused. She tried to get Mizu to see the sand on the bubbles and help Mizu remember. The way the Pokemon's eyes lit up, Violet was sure the message had gotten across. Mizu sprayed a cloud of darkness all around, suddenly evening out the playing field. Looked like Mizu had learned a new trick. Many of the bubble attacks still missed, but so did the Pidgey's pecks. Both Pokemon were wearing out, and sweat dripped down each trainer's face.
Pidgey 2, going low!
Mizu, aim for the wing!
Pull up!
Roll!
Dive!
Bubble!
The Pidgey was headed for the horsey, but then a stream of bubbles snapped against one wing and turned the bird midair and sent it right into a nearby tree. The Pidgey dropped to the ground, defeated.
No!
Violet's opponent crumpled to the ground and buried her face in her hands.
I'm so sorry, Eevee. I couldn't rescue you.
Violet sighed. She knew she was going to have to be honest no matter how much she didn't want to talk about it. After all, she couldn't leave the girl wallowing in misery, thinking she failed to rescue a poor stolen Pokemon.
Hey, you didn't fail to rescue anything.
Violet started as she approached the other girl.
There was nothing to rescue here. I told you the truth. The Eevee was my dad's.
The girl looked up and suddenly got to her feet when she saw Violet getting close.
Yeah, right. It didn't want to listen to you. And you've made it mean and tricky.
Violet rolled her eyes.
Are you kidding me? How can it not listen to me and I trained it to trick?
Violet trailed off. The girl's flawed logic was exasperating, but yelling at her wasn't going to solve anything, and it was going to make Violet look guilty on at least one of those accusations when neither were actually true. Taking a deep breath, Violet tried again.
The truth is, my dad died.
Violet was struggling to hold it together, and the other girl put a hand to her mouth and gasped.
Yeah, well, we got in trouble with some Clefairy, and he fell in Mount Moon on the way to Pewter City. So that's why I have this Eevee. His Zubat too, actually.
There was no need for the information about the Zubat, but she felt it was best to make sure all Pokemon that were not hers originally got accounted for.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's fine.
The word got stuck in Violet's throat, and suddenly the other girl wrapped her arms tightly around Violet.
What are...
The girl just hugged tighter, and Violet began to realize how much she needed that. She stopped resisting, and just let it happen, and soon the tears were pouring from her face, and the girl, who barely even knew her and moments ago wanted to beat her into the ground, started to sob too. There was no real way to tell how long this went on, but when it started to end and the girl released her grip, Violet sniffed and wiped at her face. She looked at the girl, who was no longer her opponent, and wanted to say something, but had no idea what. Thanks didn't seem like enough. The girl gave a smile and a little nod that seemed to say, "You're welcome," as if she understood Violet's thoughts. Then the two gathered their battered Pokemon and walked back into Pewter City together, as Violet had not gotten very far yet. The Pokemon were restored at the Pokemon Center, and Violet and the girl chatted while they waited. It turned out the girl's name was Janice, and she was working on becoming an expert on flying-type Pokemon. As lunchtime passed, the Pokemon were restored, and so were Violet's spirits. Janice thanked Violet for letting her pet V, and Janice explained that sometimes Pokemon that have been traded start to struggle to follow commands. It takes a little extra work to battle with those Pokemon, but if the effort is put in, the results are usually quite stunning. The two girls hugged as they said goodbye, and Violet, once again, set forth along Route 3. To be continued.